Hey guys, welcome back to TLN. Now today I'm speaking to Dermot Bannon from Dermot Bannon's Incredible Homes on TLN. Dermot, thank you for joining us. Welcome to TLN. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you very much for having me on. This is my first ever time being on a TV show that's not Irish.
That is amazing, and you're in Canada, and I hear that you
Yes.
have visited Canada before. Do you remember anything from that trip?
Well, I was in Canada this year. I was in Canada in February, so it was the last trip. It was my last time on a plane was on an Air Canada plane before the whole world shut down. So the last foreign trip that I've ever taken, the last architectural trip, was to Canada. We had a brilliant time. We saw loads of buildings. So I don't know how many people are familiar with the series. We travel around the world and we see homes from and cultures through. Well, I suppose the whole idea behind the show is to see a country through its buildings and its homes in particular. And so we got to Toronto. We got to outside Toronto, we got to Halifax, and we got to a town, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of a little town called Lunenburg, which is in Nova Scotia. It is just the most picturesque little village. So I got really immersed into Canadian culture, Canadian homes, and I absolutely loved it. The only thing is, it's freezing. If we were there, it was minus 20, and I'd never heard of it's minus 20, but it feels like minus 40. It was unbelievably cold. If you took your gloves off for more than 5 seconds, your hands were turned into ice. So that's it. It's a cold country in the winter, and everybody said to us, "Why did you come at this time of the year?" And we came because we wanted the snow. We wanted to kind of in the middle of the series to show an episode where there's lots of snow, and it did snow.
February is probably the coldest month of the year. I think you could have gotten away with December or March, but I appreciate that you got the full Canadian experience.
Absolutely.
And what did you learn? I mean, you said that you learn about cultures, you learn about a country through its buildings. So after exploring Canada, after taking a look around, what was it that you think you learned about the people or the culture?
Well, actually, Canada is quite a complex country, and that's the first thing I learned. That if you were to ask me to describe Canada, there's one word I'd use is respect. And there's respect for cultures, there's respect for minority groups, there's respect. It's kind of, the word melting pot is wrong because that means that you just throw everybody in together and they get on. But there's a real kind of, what I found was there's a real sense of kind of striving to get along with every kind of group within the country. And the buildings are the same. Like a lot of the buildings they don't shout. I'm an amazing building. They don't shout, this is an incredible home. They're very, very subtly done and hugely respectful to the environment. So you're very, very aware of the environment and its resources and what it takes to build a building and what it takes to heat a building and run a building. But also, there was if people only needed 2 bedrooms, they just built 2 bedrooms. They didn't build 19,000 bedrooms like they would do in some cultures. But so it was a huge respect for the environment, for each other. And I always laughed when we were making phone calls, researching some of the architects in Canada. And we'd say, look, we've seen your house on the internet and we love it and we'd love to visit it. And they'd say, why? They just, that was the big thing. Why do you want to see our house? It's just a regular house. And it was very, very modest and respectful. And I loved it for that. It's not a country that shouts about itself, but it's a country that definitely should shout about itself.
And you did say Canada is the last trip that you took before this pandemic started. Yeah. After this is all over and all done with, what is the #1 place that you want to visit, that you want to see the architecture, and that maybe is unexpected where you could find these incredible homes?
Everywhere, because actually when our Canada was our first episode this year, and then we couldn't put out a series or a season, as you guys call it. We couldn't put out a season with just 1 episode, so we had to quickly make one in Ireland, which is not something I'd expected to do. But actually we found incredible places in Ireland. So like I've been to Australia, I've been to the United States, I've been to Northern Europe, and we were due to go to Spain. Everywhere you go, I think there's something to learn. And once you get in under the skin of a culture, I think there's something to learn in every culture. So Where would I like to go? I suppose, look, I'd love to go back to Canada, because I think we just tipped the iceberg. We got to Toronto and we got to Nova Scotia. That was it. I'd love to go over to the West Coast. I'd love to go up into the mountains. Like, the world is a huge place. And it's only when our wings have been clipped this year, we realized, oh God, I might never get to see these places. There's loads of places in Europe. There's huge architectural history and culture in Europe. And I'd love to get to Italy. We haven't done Italy yet. We were due to go to Spain. I'd love to go to South America, where you are. I'd love to go to South Africa. I'd love to go to Middle Africa. I'd love to go, mud huts. I'd love to go to the Middle East. I'd love to go to Beirut. I'd love to go to, I'd love to go to Warsaw. I'd love to go to Beijing. I'd love to go to North Korea. I suppose
Everywhere.
everywhere. Fundamentally, I'm an explorer at heart, and no matter, it mightn't be the most popular destination, but I always think there's something interesting to learn from every culture, even cultures we probably don't admire, and we might think there's something in it. There's a layer in there that we can all take something from, and that's what I'm constantly on the search for. And I do that through its buildings and architecture, and I love it.
Oh, Dermot, I do have to talk to you about the holidays. I mean, they're getting closer. It's such a distinct year, but how do you hope to spend them with your family?
I just hope to spend them with my family. That would be a good thing. I think this year has changed everything, and there's, I think in Ireland, Irish people, the percentage of Irish people who actually live in Ireland is tiny. Most of them live around the world. We emigrated and moved to the United States, to Canada, all over Europe, back 100 years ago. And I think for Irish people, the tradition is getting back together again. Lots of Irish people, like, you go to a lot of the airports in North America and they're jam-packed with Irish people trying to get home for Christmas. And you say we're approaching the season. In Ireland, the season kind of starts in December. So Christmas trees are up, decorations are up all over the country. But I think the big thing in our culture is always about people returning home. That's probably different to anywhere else in Europe, and most that everybody, there is this thing, this yearning to get home, even if it's only 6 miles down the road. It's all about and then local pubs are jam-packed with people, and people get together and then they reminisce and they think, oh God, I really wish I could come home. And then everybody says, it's not like this all year round, trust me, it's just because you're home. So I suppose this year I will miss not seeing wider circles of friends, because I think it's the one time of the year that I especially, my tradition, I suppose, would be to catch up with all of the people that you haven't met during the year. So you say, oh look, I'll meet you maybe not this weekend, I'm a bit busy. I always make an effort at Christmas to catch up with everybody that I want to, and family. So it's going to be driven. In Ireland, we've got a stringent enough lockdown, and we're still not allowed to see our families until the 18th. So we're not allowed to visit somebody else's house until the 18th of December. And I think they're going to let us free for a few days, and then we'll be back into some form of lockdown. We can't meet in restaurants, you can't go to pubs. Pubs are shut, and it's the first time. I don't know if anybody who's been to Ireland. The only time of the year that we've ever shut our pubs is on Good Friday, coming up to Easter. And that's been a tradition for 150 years. And last year we abolished it because people just couldn't cope with the pubs being shut for one day. Now the pubs have been shut since March, and it's the first time ever. So it's I suppose pubs and places like that are at the centre of kind of Ireland and Irish traditions at Christmas and meeting up with people. And the fact that they're not there, and the fact that they're shut, is going to be different. And it's nice in a way. I think we'll all be trying to I'll be just whoever I can spend time with, just live in the moment, because that's all, we've all learned that this year. We've all learned just to live in the moment. Who can I see, for how long, and just do it and appreciate it. And I don't think we'll be putting this much pressure on ourselves to have, to see everybody. And that might be a good thing in disguise.
Enjoying the little things, absolutely.
Exactly.
And after this year, I think we all need a little bit of good luck. In my family, right at midnight, we have to eat 12 grapes for good luck. And I'm curious if there's any traditions in Ireland or any New Year's activities that you do that you can share with us so we can get a little bit of good luck.
When I had children, and my kids are quite old now, my daughter is 15, but when I first had kids, I realized I couldn't go out on New Year's Eve and spend all night out because I couldn't get up the next morning with the kids. So what I've started doing is I actually go This is a little thing that I just do by myself, and I love doing it every year. I go to bed early enough on New Year's Eve. I don't even wait to stay up until 12 o'clock for the countdown. But I get up for the sunrise and I go for a swim. And I don't know if anybody knows Ireland, but Ireland is freezing. And I get into the sea for the first swim of the year, and I try and time it at sunrise. So when the sun is rising on the first day of the year, I'm in the water by myself. And it's probably, the water temperature is probably about 5 degrees, and it is, you can't feel your fingers, you can't feel yourself. But it's actually, but I think lots and lots of people are going to do that this year, because in Ireland, when pubs and clubs and restaurants were shut, there was nothing to do. So people took up sea swimming, and they took up cold water sea swimming. And you go down to the beaches now all over Ireland, and whenever it's high tide, there's maybe 30 or 40 people gathered still now every single day getting into the water. And it's become a huge thing in Ireland since the first lockdown, is sea swimming, and that invigoration and the coming out of the water. It's been amazing. So I don't think I'll be on my own this year.
I would love to see Canada do that. I would love for it to be minus 40 outside and see a group of people just jumping into the lake.
But the ice is about 5 meters deep there, so you'd never get in.
You know, but we do have the polar bear swim, where people swim while there's snow and ice out. So maybe we can make that happen.
I'd love that, because on Christmas morning as well is a big time when that happens. People now have got into this tradition of dressing up in their Christmas jumpers, Santa hats, and jumping off rocks into the water all up and down the country and coming out. It's embracing the cold. And I'll tell you something, a swim in really cold water on Christmas morning sets you up for the day. You'd make 7 Christmas dinners in a row after that.
I actually, you know what, I'm going to try it this year. I'll eat the 12 grapes, I'll go to bed, and then I'm going to go for a sunrise swim.
You're in South America at the moment, so it's going to be a lot warmer.
Shh. You know, we don't have to tell anyone. We're going to make sure they think I'm in the winter. Thank you so much for joining us. We are really looking forward to welcoming you back to Canada, hopefully soon.
Thank you very much.